Baby steps, baby steps. Now you guys ought to back up so your cameras don't get to back of your head.
Speakers.
Let's get the
side.
we got everybody. Well, let me just begin by saying I think that the state of Nevada is fortunate that we have such hardworking people dedicated to solving the problems of the state. With almost a nearly $900 million shortfall, the pain that most Nevadans have been feeling for quite some time has been foremost on the minds of each of these legislators, as it has been myself. We've worked diligently over the last several days, many hours, reaching an accord. But let me say, no one likes everything in this agreement that we've got going. And everyone had to yield something, and everyone came to the table with the idea that we were pulling together to help Nevadans overcome the great pain and suffering of a deficit of nearly $1 billion. We think we've reached that accord. We're now in the process of drafting the bill. I want to give thanks to the Speaker, Barbara Buckley, the Senate Majority Leader, Stephen Horsford, Minority Leader in the Senate, Bill Raggio, and the Minority Assembly Republican Leader, Heidi Gansert, for their hard work. Every one of them worked diligently to represent their constituency as well as the people of Nevada. This agreement, as I said, was a lot of work. It took a lot of give and a lot of take and a lot of debate, some of it heated at times, but in the end, it's the people of Nevada. It's coming together to take away some of the pain that working families and the people who depend on state government and who fund state government have been feeling now for almost a year. So we're looking at hopefully being able to have this bill finished up this evening as planned. And I would like to turn it over now to the Speaker of the Assembly, Barbara Buckley, for any comments, and we'll ask each of the leaders to make a short statement. But ladies and gentlemen, from this point forward, I think working together, we should finish this up by this evening. Barbara?
Well, we obviously are very pleased that we've been able to reach consensus. It wasn't easy. We come from different philosophical backgrounds, but we came together to work on a consensus that's good for the state. We obviously spent a long time talking about education. We know where we rank nationally in terms of education funding, and it was truly a priority to drive down the level of cuts to education. And so we're pleased that we were able to do that. We also had a good deal of conversation about some of the worst of the cuts to health and human services. There was a lot of testimony from our seniors, from those who care for the most vulnerable, and we're pleased that we were able to restore the services for those who are mentally ill, the optional services for seniors, such as hearing aids and the like. So we're very pleased that we were also able to achieve consensus on that. We are continuing with our furlough program for state workers, and we all would publicly like to thank our state workers. They took a 4.6% cut in pay, as well as additional cuts in benefits and to their retirement. It's valued at 11%. We're continuing those, and as well going to a 4-day work week where the state employees will work 10-hour days. We thank them for their continued sacrifice during these very tough economic times and doing more with less, since of course we also instituted a hiring freeze as well. So those are a few of the elements that we've received consensus on, and we're pleased to be able to balance the budget as we're required and to restore some of these vitally needed services.
On behalf of the State Senate, we would like to join with the governor and the other leaders in recognizing the agreement that we've been able to reach tonight. When we first came into this special session, we were faced with nearly $1 billion shortfall, which would have resulted in literally 20% across the board cuts to everything including education, health and human services, and public safety. But by working together really around the clock for the last few weeks, we were able to reach consensus. That consensus is not in agreement as far as in every respect. There are certain parts of the plan that each one of us don't like. But we were able to reduce the impact to K-12 and higher education to 6.9%, as well as restore some of the most critical health and human services to the vulnerable. We protected public safety by keeping open Nevada State Prison and restoring the Casa Grande facility in Southern Nevada for transitional offenders. But we have much more work to do. I'd like to thank the Speaker and the colleagues in the Assembly, as well as the Assembly Minority Leader, Ms. Gansert. I'd like to thank the Governor and his staff for reaching out to us and working with us over the last few days to reach this agreement, and to my colleague, Senator Raggio, who has been here making sure that we did what we needed to do to balance this budget. What I'd like to say is, in conclusion, while we've reached this agreement to solve this budget crisis, the challenge ahead is just as great. We will experience in the next budget 2 years from now, 1 year from now, nearly a 50% reduction in our revenues that fund our schools, our public safety, and our health and human services. And so just as we work together today, we will need to continue to work together to address the issues for the next legislative session. And I will challenge those corporations that were not able to participate in this solution to be part of the solution as we work towards addressing the state's critical needs and funding those needs for all of the people of this state. Thank you.
Senator. Can we bring you over here maybe a little bit?
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate your being here. Let's start with the obvious. We were looking at something like an $890 million shortfall. Through the process, we were able to determine that our actual shortfall for the remainder of this biennium is more like $805 million, which of course helps solve this situation. I will concur as to the difficulties that we originally had getting into this process. From the beginning, in the Senate and the Assembly, both parties, both houses have worked, I think, much more than ever in my career here to reach some very difficult decisions. I can honestly tell you, since having been in the Senate since 1972, this has been the most difficult session or time in which to develop a budget and to meet this kind of a shortfall. Without the governor and his staff and our staffs and our colleagues working together, particularly in this last critical period of a couple of weeks, this would never have been achieved. I can't give enough credit to my colleagues and to this governor and his staff for coming forth, working together, and these are difficult decisions. As was indicated, there's a lot of philosophical differences here represented by the five of us, even within our own caucuses and the constituencies we represent. So there's something in here to like and something to dislike for everyone. I would be repetitious otherwise. I can tell you that I think this bodes well for the state. In this way, there are going to be serious impacts on the lives of every one of our citizens, every sector, every group within our state. There's going to be some pain out there. And when we're talking about sharing the sacrifice, that's what's happening here. Hopefully, some of this will be an impetus for us to take a long, hard look at how we fund state government, not to mention what goes on in local governments, because we also are hopefully sending out a resolution that will encourage more transparency in how we structure negotiated agreements, how we negotiate collective bargaining agreements, and I think those are all important issues. I agree with my colleagues here. Next session will be an even bigger challenge. you're probably looking at a budget shortfall of some 3 to 4 times what we've had to deal with this time. So the solution is temporary, and it's well thought out. It's going to be very, very difficult as we go down the road and the regular session commences here in a very short period of time. I want to thank everybody for their input, the public. I have not answered some emails because I'm not going to live that long, but I appreciate very, very much the input, not only from our colleagues in the legislature, but from all of those outside who expressed concern. That input was important. Thank you very, very much.
Heidi?
Thank you. You know, we're very pleased with the work that the legislative leadership and all of our colleagues have done here. And also the governor. I want to give him credit for coming to the table and staying at the table and helping us work out a solution. We all know we faced dire cuts, and it was important for us to cut a significant amount of money, and we did that. We cut over $300 million. It's a start for what we will face next session, which of course is less than 12 months away. As everybody mentioned, there's going to be effects on people. There will be fewer services, people will feel the pain, but at the same time, we were able to restore some of the funds to K through 12 and higher ed. We were able to restore some funds to the most vulnerable populations, and that's very important. It's critical that we did that. I also appreciate all the public input that we received. We did work round the clock for the last 2 weeks. We heard from many people. This process was very open, which I think is important. Senator Raggio mentioned transparency. Our caucus was very concerned about transparency, and we are looking at a resolution that would encourage us to address the collective bargaining agreements next session to make sure that they are more open to the public. Again, billions of dollars are spent through collective bargaining agreements, and we think they should be open to the public, and we strongly urge that we do that looking forward to the next session. Thank you very much.
This group has to get back to work. If there's a couple of quick questions.
Senator, where's the $805 million number coming from?
Well, it comes from the fact that some $62 million additionally will be realized from net proceeds by the state alone. That reduces that by $62 million, and at least another $4-point-some million is available from some fees that are already increased over in the State Secretary of State's office that are strictly user fees. That's the biggest part of it.
What's the resolution of the mining issue?
I think I would defer to Assembly Majority Leader Oseguera, who spent the last 2 weeks working on this.
Good one, you get the break.
Nice try,
We
John.
understand he's been designated as an honorary miner.
I don't know about that. There's a tiered system on mining claims that increases with the number of claims that you own. So I believe the numbers are $70, $85, and $195, which raises approximately $25.7 million.
Based on the number of claims.
What are the number of claims?
The total number is about 208,000 claims.
What do you have to give on, in your opinion? What aren't you happy with?
Well, I think first of all, having to give on the non-closure of the Nevada State Prison, which is a huge unfunded liability for the state in terms of bringing it up to code. We're going to have to look at that and make sure that we can conduct a safe operation with regard to code requirements within a prison that was built shortly after Nevada became a state. We wanted to make sure that other areas we gave on in terms of reducing education meant that some other agencies would have to take up an also larger share of the reductions. And so the balance across the board was adjusted and in some cases not equally.
Governor, I think do you regret not having more from gaming as part of this? Could you talk about that, please?
I think as we move forward, there has to be a recognition of shared responsibility by all of us. The major corporations of this state, gaming, manufacturing, truckers, retail, banks, it's going to be important that we all participate. Now, that's incumbent upon us. We're working on an interim study of our revenue structure so that we are prepared to act on the recommendations next session, and that's going to be critically important based on the shortfall we will face.
One more question, please.
Governor, I think you'd like to get re-elected. What would you tell the voters? We expect if you are re-elected that we'd have the old Gibbons that we hardly saw in this building, or the new Gibbons that we saw with these four fine
Well,
folks?
I'm going to put a pedometer meter on those people that report that, because I can tell you that we have been in this building about the same number of times this time as we always do in terms of showing up. I think this is, an obligation that the people of Nevada, and especially the governor, find as, do we work here or do we work in our office? It's a real difficult question to answer. How many times do I have to walk over here?
You were more active in negotiations.
A lot more this time.
Well, that's true.
You were more active in the negotiation process, though, I think, than we've seen before. Is there a reason that we saw more of that this time?
Well, I think, first of all, there are times when you need a catalyst, somebody to start the process. And I know it really started when I knew there was a timeline, a deadline rapidly approaching, and I wanted just to get the process going. So I asked for the people to get together in the beginning and really requested that we all sit down, we talk about what we can get together on and work on, what our differences are. And that literally is the catalyst that starts it going. So I was very willing to continue that process, to stay in these meetings for the 3 and 4 hours at a time, just to make sure that we were all able to have our discussion, make sure that we all knew where we were, and do it as quickly as possible, knowing that the longer we stand out here, the longer it's going to take to finish this legislative process up.
Thank you very much.
As is.
We're still looking at that process right now.
Okay, thank you. Happening to the water bill? You gonna get that? John and Hubbard, you're right here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You. Yeah.